Hi there, good afternoon. This is Cappadocia. The main tourist town of Garamay is just a mile or so walk out there. I just walked over here. Other side of this hill here, you can take the road or various hiking trails. Up here is the open air museum. So here in Cappadocia you have all of these strange natural rock formations that are called fairy chimneys. You can see them all over, poking up out of the ground, a natural geological phenomenon, of course, formed over millions of years. And then, as you can also see, human beings carved caves inside of them. Not sure if this is actually a human carved cave, but over there. I will be walking through tons of them in the course of this video. The history here is very, very deep. Thousands and thousands of years of people living in this region. Cappadocians mentioned in the Bible. Speaking of the Bible, the open air museum is an area of fairy chimneys, caves carved inside of the fairy chimneys, similar to right there, but more open space inside of them. And on the ceilings of these caves are Christian murals, extremely colorful, very beautiful, and very masterfully done paintings of the life of Jesus and various scenes from the Bible, because Greek Byzantine monks lived there and painted these murals inside of the caves. Whether or not they actually carved out the caves themselves or they were carved out by earlier people who lived in the area and then they came along and painted the murals inside of them is hard to say. But over thousands of years, people have lived in this region, carved out the caves in various phases for various purposes. Churches, as is the case there, tombs, homes, storage spaces, stables for horses and camels and various livestock, etc. And so that is a pay area there. You can see the little kiosks up there. Buy a ticket, go inside, walk in, explore. I've been there a couple of times. I'm not going to go inside there today. Instead, I'm going to walk around this area here because this is outside of the pay zone. I don't care about, paying the ticket fee, that's fine, but I've been there before and it is going to be busy. Here you can see nobody else here. Lots of tourists, not lots of tourists. And that is one of the amazing things about Cappadocia, is how much there is to see, how much of it is off the road, literally, so that you can just walk off the road and wander through these absolutely fascinating caves, homes, whatever this was. How long was it lived in for? And so you can just walk for miles and miles and miles and find these scattered all over the place. Cliffs with full, towns embedded in them of the caves. And so I'm going to walk further away and get deeper into the terrain here, head that direction, see what we find. If we're lucky, maybe find some of the Christian murals. I've found them before, nothing like the ones in the open air museum, not as amazingly colorful and large and as well done as those ones, but you'll come across some random murals, smaller ones, or just kind of remnants of one or whatever. So here you go. This is a pretty large cave home, I guess. Multi-room. This has got to be more than just a tomb. It just feels like a home, like an apartment, So where was the cooking area? You can easily find that generally because the ceiling will be all blackened. Another room back in here, very, very dark. So here you go, all blackened. This must have been the kitchen. Fireplace there. No chimney, and so the smoke just billowed out and then exited out the windows and door, and look at this. A cross. Incredible. I mean, that is no, modern graffiti, obviously. That is old. So as I have talked about in previous videos already, the Byzantines, also called the Eastern Roman Empire, was an empire that developed alongside the Western Roman Empire, classical Rome, and then the capital was moved from Rome to Constantinople in present-day Istanbul, and then there was the fall of the Roman Empire. The last Roman emperor was deposed by the Germanic tribes coming from the north, and then that was the end of the Roman Empire. No more of what we think of as the Roman Empire with the emperors, the Caesar and stuff like that. And so the Eastern Roman Empire, with Constantinople as the capital, became the dominant superpower in the region, and it was Christian. Primarily Greeks, but of course lots of other cultures throughout the ages, because that civilization existed for a couple thousand years, depending on where you started at. Really, it was more like 1,000 years or so from the fall of the Western Roman Empire until the fall of Constantinople in 1453, when the Ottoman Turks fully took control of this part of the world. But it was Christian up until the 15th century, when the Byzantine Empire officially collapsed, and basically that shrunk into Greece. Greece now is the leftovers of the Byzantine Empire, the Greek Empire, the realm that was conquered by Alexander the Great, which stretched all the way to India and into North Africa, etc. So somebody's garden, or aspirations of a garden, or something, not much growing there, but there's a whole shed and wheelbarrows and things for digging up the dirt there and whatnot. So one of the reasons that I am up here today is because somebody sent me a message on Instagram mentioning that he'd come across this rather large cave carved out, and showed me a video of it. It looked really cool, and he said he was walking back from the Garamé Open Air Museum. It was on the right side, up on a hill, just looked like a big rock. He decided to walk up and investigate it, and then discovered this massive room inside there. So I've been looking for that, and I haven't seen anything that matches that description yet. So let's see if we manage to come across it. There are, of course, lots of pretty large caves that I'm seeing, but nothing that quite matches up with that. So, why am I so obsessed with caves and ancient ruins? Certainly, partly it is just because of the cultural and historical factor. That is like the heart of traveling, is the interest in learning about other countries, other cultures, how people live. And so it is just kind of endlessly fascinating to learn how many different cultures there are, how many there have been over the course of human history, how incredibly varied it is, how complex all the different countries and then different, types of people within those countries. As people remarked, the Byzantine Empire wasn't just all one people, obviously. It was many different types of cultures, civilizations, languages that was shifting over thousands of years, the borders shifting, wars, battles, all that. And so nothing is simple when it comes to human civilization. And then there's just the general history element. That's a big one. Of learning about the past. Somewhere like this just evokes so much history of such an absolutely different way of living, the daily life of the people who would have lived here, both the positives and negatives of living in a region that was very often a war zone. This is why there are the underground cities of Derinkuyu and Kaymakli. I've been to Derinkuyu and it is absolutely fascinating. You go down through a tunnel, a stairwell, just one entrance with a big round boulder that could be rolled across it, and that blocks off the entire city. This is a living area here in the underground city. Living room, it says. Whoa. Meanwhile, down there, 12 different levels, this vast, convoluted cave complex of rooms and shafts and stairs and tunnels that could house apparently as much as possibly 50,000 people. Whoa, look at that one. So a serious city living entirely underground. So to imagine that kind of a lifestyle, the reason that they created those underground cities was apparently because of the warfare in the area. There's along the Silk Road, a desirable region because of its location. And so that was one very effective way of staying safe, just go underground. But as you can see, also, people lived above ground. So out there, tons of cave apartments and churches and tombs and more of the fairy chimneys stretching off for miles. And so it is just really intriguing to imagine these different ways of living, how different it would have been. Was it an enjoyable life? Or was it just all hardship? So the other reason that I think that I am kind of fascinated with caves and ancient ruins and past history and everything is just because I have kind of a romanticization of ancient life, even though I also know that that is very illusory, and it certainly was not all romantic by any means. It was hard for a lot of people Imagine trying to scrape out an existence here with these dry lands. The reason for the little holes in many of the caves, we will see more of them, is because they were pigeon roosts. They made it easier for pigeons to live here and be accessible to them to get to, because they made use of the pigeon guano to fertilize their soil and make it easier to farm. And so partly it is just that I have a general interest or whatever in the past and life before modern times. Because life in the modern world has become so much about convenience and comfort and speed, microwaves, drive-thrus, get everything as fast as you can. And at the same time has gotten so complicated with modern technology and everything that goes along with it. There is the convenience factor and the ease of living. The reality is that despite wars in certain places and various disasters and whatnot, that this age of human history is actually the safest and best for humans that has ever been. If you look at the real numbers of statistics of longevity of human life and war, crime, healthcare. I mean, imagine, healthcare, dental care in the Middle Ages or whatever, and how just horrendous, gruesome it was, and how hard it was to live and survive, and so much warfare and everything. But despite all that, I still have kind of this idea that when it wasn't that bad, that there were advantages to that reality of human existence, of being more in the moment, less focused on, the internet age that we have now, of knowing everything that's happening in the world every day and having your mind just be cluttered with all this stuff that has nothing to do with you. And the complexity of our modern lives, dealing with cars breaking down and customer service at Walmart and standing in lines, and just all of the stuff that goes along with modern convenience, the headaches that go along with it. But to imagine just like having this much more simple daily life of waking up somewhere like this and just like tending your crops and going out and hunting, making music with your friends, sitting around a campfire, talking, much more actual social interaction with people. And see the indentations there for pigeons to roost. So what was this? Right here, it's just this tiny little thing. So maybe it was basically just like a pigeon coop. Whoa. Okay, I was hoping to get into the valley out there, but obviously not this way. Man, so where is that cave? Because it was much bigger than any of these other ones that you're seeing here. It looked like maybe it would have been a church or some sort of a special building. It was quite different. Okay, I'm going to figure out how to get out there, farther away from all this, and see what else we can find. So a cave up there, and then this tunnel, which I was hoping might lead into a larger room, but it's just kind of a random tunnel. But on the outside is something fairly interesting. Up here, you've got some markings, including a cross. And a blocked off entrance. So was this possibly a church because of the cross? Certainly possible. There are lots of churches around here. Okay, we can see inside at least. A big room. It looks like basically a seat, a big long stone like bench. So my best guess is that this is the dining area for monks. You have all of the Byzantine churches over there at the museum. It's called museum, but it's open air, as it's called, open air museum. And so it's just more stuff like this, but all of the amazing murals. And so you have the churches there. So perhaps this was one of their dining areas. And then here we have some markings that look to me like, well, I was going to say Arabic, but actually you can see those symbols. That is not Arabic looking. Well, yeah, Greek, the E, epsilon. Okay. There you go. Greek writing. Or something related. And then some weird looking, like spiral type symbols up on top. And then there is something else interesting over here. Somebody had a good idea. Bottle of wine. So, right over here is a oddly shaped rock that looks like a rabbit. And I remember it from when I was here previously. This is my 4th time to Cappadocia. I've spent about a month total exploring here. And so the first time was in 2009, and ended up over here and got a picture in front of that rabbit rock. But there is something else there. Let's see. Well, it should still be there. It was there for centuries, so. But let's take a closer look. First, however, let's investigate up here, because there are some really interesting looking caves. Looks like one of them might be a church, like a little chapel by the shape of it. That right there. Look at that. That has to be like a church. Wow. Freaking cool. So, the question is it a church or is it a temple? Pre-Christian. An altar there. Now there are crosses both etched into the wall there and painted on there. But could those have been added afterwards, possibly, that it was created as a temple originally and then used later as a church. So that is some old history there. Who knows how old, but quite possibly 1,000 years or more. Of course, the Byzantine Empire collapsed 1453 with the fall of Constantinople, overtaken by the Ottoman Turks. However, as I showed in my previous video of Uchasar, right there, Uchasar Castle, sticking up there on top of the hill. I went up inside there and read a sign there that talked about how this area was taken over by the Turks, the Ottomans, in the 11th century, I believe, the 1000s. And with that, the Byzantine Christians would have been, I don't know, about entirely gone. You know, maybe they were still here, but they wouldn't have been as active, and it wouldn't have been the same civilization at all once it was taken over by the Turks. And so it's safe to presume that any Christian creations here were likely created before that time. The Rabbit Rock. Now, was that intentionally carved out into that shape? Because it looks like it could have been. Maybe it was meant to be an animal, maybe not a rabbit, but some sort of an antelope or something like that, perhaps. And so you have some ugly modern day graffiti, but to the best of my recollection, there should be something much more historical. Is it actually here, or did I maybe remember incorrectly and it's somewhere else? Huh. Maybe I got it wrong. I have a picture of it. But let's first see if it's maybe hidden somewhere else nearby. So I'm not seeing it. Very likely I am conflating this rock with another one because the photos were taken around the same time, and it's actually at a different rock. Regardless, this is a very interestingly shaped cave complex, whatever it was. Yeah, so I'm just not seeing it. It was definitely in the ceiling of one of these caves somewhere nearby, I'm sure of it. So here's the photo. A little piece of an old Christian mural, and it was definitely somewhere around here outside of the pay area of the open air museum there. Okay, let's get into the valley over there. So no mural so far, but there is something quite interesting over here. So today is September 6th. It is currently just 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 20 degrees Celsius. So it is cooling down a bit here, going towards the fall. But still, especially once that sun comes out, then you do get warmed up, especially hiking around. So here's a nice one here. Look at this cross. Pretty amazing and unique with the outline there. It is an equal cross, not the typical Christian cross, but I assume that is still a Christian symbol. But come on, we gotta find some murals somewhere. Oh! Nice timing, not the most incredible one as it is now. Very faded, but look at this. That is probably Jesus. Hand raised, right hand. Very likely, a symbol like this, something like that. And then some not so impressive markings like we saw elsewhere, but still must be older. I mean, this obviously isn't modern graffiti. And an altar. This whole area right over here looks really interesting. A lot of pretty impressive looking caves there. So, as I was saying, then my fascination is to some extent about some part of me wishing that I could be here, basically, during that era of history and experience that kind of a life. Especially somewhere as unique as here, where it seems like if there weren't wars going on, then it could be a pretty good life. Because you don't have harsh winters. It gets cold, but it isn't Canada and brutally cold for 6, 7, 8 months or something. It's hot in the summer, but not the Sahara Desert. And then very pleasant spring and fall. There must not have been much in the way of dangerous animals. Like maybe there could have been some kind of a mountain lion or regular lion or something like that. But just my best guess would be that that wasn't, a big issue. Like living in the jungle of the Amazon and there being snakes and spiders and jaguars and panthers and all kinds of stuff around every corner that could kill you. It must have been relatively hassle-free in that regard, but really the main big challenge would have been living off the land, eking out an existence food-wise. Shelter is covered. I mean, you got the caves. Obviously, there would have been so much more to them. You will oftentimes see, like right here, these holes where you can imagine there must have been wooden sticks stuck in there, and then wooden frames probably sticking out. And so you'd have part of the room inside the cave, and then something sticking out here, more of a entrance to the home, and maybe, even more rooms or something. And then carpets and everything that goes along with daily life, kitchenware. Here again, you've got the blackened ceiling. It seems like a tomb wouldn't be as likely to have a blackened ceiling, even if maybe they would build fires occasionally as some sort of a ceremony or something like that. But in order to get that super blackened soot on the cave that exists for hundreds of years, then you would be having regular fires burning in there. And so that seems to be some clear evidence of it being a living space. The ones that have that. And so it would, of course, just depend a lot on the era, what was going on. Was there famine? Was there shortage of water throughout? Earthquakes, various natural disasters, abundance of fruits and vegetables and game, animals you can hunt and eat, all that kind of stuff would, of course, have been big factors in your quality of life. But if those conditions were on your side, then you can imagine that this would have been a pretty decent place to live on the planet compared to many other places. And certainly a very interesting place to spend your life. And so this cave entrance is a little bit fancier looking than many of the others, so let's see what this is. Very likely a church or temple. Okay, so we have evidence of it being a tomb, but not just a tomb. Here we go. Another mural. Again, probably Jesus, and it looks to me like it was intentionally defaced, probably by the Turks. Literally defaced. That is where the greater scratching was, so that certainly seems to indicate that was intentionally destroyed. But why weren't the incredible murals in the open-air museum destroyed? You would think that they would have been, unless somehow they weren't discovered by the Turks. Or maybe they didn't have a practice of trying to destroy everything. Maybe it was just, some guy came along here and didn't like the Christian symbol, and so marked it. But at least the best ones were actually preserved. So obviously a holy building, whether Christian or earlier. I honestly cannot say what seems more likely. Because there's the temple that I showed in another video that is much more complex than this, but similar a bit with these arches, the altars, and that is pre-Christian, possibly Roman or Greek era before the Byzantine Christian era. Whoever was here in that time, around the time of Jesus, or possibly before, and before it was Christian in this area. And so this could possibly be a pre-Christian temple, which then became a church, because that would indicate that it was in fact a church, but originally, or turned into a church later. Well, there must have been an easier way, but I just came up that in order to see this looks like another church or temple, and a pretty impressive one. We have more of the faint paintings and not very skilled ones. Cross. Chessboard. Whatever that is. Not a chessboard, obviously, but I've seen that before, that kind of design. And then various symbols. So this one is just covered in this paint that didn't last as well as the other ones. So here again, you can imagine that there must have been either more rock that crumbled down, but it doesn't really look like it. Perhaps a wooden structure sticking out here, or maybe it was just a open air church with a nice view. So maybe you're getting the sense why I keep coming back here, because there is so much to see. It is ridiculous. Again, tombs, because everything that I've shown is just a short walk from the main town of Garamay, right out there. And this is just the absolute tip of the iceberg. Uchasar. You can walk there from Garamay. I showed that in the last video. And so I have only shown just what you can see from here in my past few days of exploring. Meanwhile, you can drive an hour and find more similar stuff like this all throughout this area. And so this is somewhere that you can just keep coming back again and again and spend weeks, months. Again, Uchasar out there. It was a bit of a challenge to get up here. I was hoping for the best, a way to get inside here because I could see all of these holes. But either there is like just one small access that's blocked off with a rock, or it's the other side. But regardless, this mountain is basically an apartment complex or tomb complex or whatever it is. It's just riddled with man-made holes with rooms on the other side. I wonder how extensive it is, if, you know, this is all connected or separated living quarters or what. Another one there. So we've got lots more man-made caves up there. That one looks kind of interesting, but impossible to get to. And then out here, we've got some really good-looking caves. Let's see if I can possibly get up inside that. Obviously not climbing up the face, but maybe over on the right side there. And then look over there. Tons of them, including that looks like it might be another church or temple. And we got lots of pigeons hanging out on top of the ferry chimneys. And the wind picking up, and it's cooling down. So, I came around this mountain hoping that there was a way to get up it, and saw this. I am not a rock climber. I did not climb up that one. I was about to give up and just go to the easier to get to ones over there, and then decided, well, let's just go around the other side and see if it's actually possible to get up over here. And in fact it was. Going up through that canyon, not coming up here, but around there, and then it was quite easy. This is a good looking one. Check that out way up there. So there must have been some kind of ladder system or something to get up there. But this one, you can get right inside, and there is more than one room. Look at this. Oh yeah. Intense. Man, oh man. So I'm not seeing any grave sites yet. And so it seems very likely that this was a living space. It definitely feels like it, you can easily imagine. Would have been a ladder here, more rooms up there, or was it created as just a pigeon roosting coop? Because there's all of these pigeon roosts in here. You would think you wouldn't want your home to be a pigeon coop. And so perhaps it was basically just like a home for pigeons and for gathering the guano for the farming, something like that. Look at this, a shaft going down. That looks a lot like a toilet. Or maybe the ancient Cappadocians lived with pigeons, the pigeon people. And then we have some pretty old looking markings. Wow. This is quite a find. It's a dismal place now, but you can imagine. Get the boulders out of the way, sweep up all the rocks and everything, lay down carpet and some sort of other, comfy kind of flooring, and have decorations on the walls, candles, making music, and this could be a really, really cozy, comfortable space to live in. This is so cool discovering this area because I've hiked around before on previous visits out there, but never came all the way here. So this is a whole new area, and finding some of the coolest caves I've seen. So, is it possible to get up there? Let's see how high we can go. There are little grooves in the rock. Basic cave here. I think I will refrain from trying to get up to that one. Let's try to get around the other side and see if you can get higher up over there. Well, I lied. I decided to go for it. It is very solid, very grippy, especially with these sandals with good tread, my Tivas, and you can see a rope here. I think this one I'm definitely not going to attempt, even though there's the rope. But this looks pretty interesting. Now, how far does it go? Maybe not very far. This one just ends right there. And this one just ends right here. Okay, I was hoping it would be more of a complex. This one almost looks like it's unfinished. Right there doesn't really look like anything. Also this, unless this could maybe be a natural one. Yeah, because I'm not seeing the scratch marks. Well, I lied again. I decided to go for it. I figured if that rope was there, there must be something pretty cool up here, and sure enough, it was quite easy with the rope. There are foot steps and handholds. Okay. Whoa. All right, what have we got here? Going down. Whoa, oh my God. Unreal. Now that one goes pretty deep. I can't see if there's an end to it. I can't see any faint glimpses of light. I think that I will not try to go down that. But this continues through. It is a small little hole, but totally doable. And look at this, guys. This might be the best cave I found. Stairs going up here. More rooms. Whoa, imagine living up here. Absolutely unreal. I mean, all of this was carved out. That is a lot of work. How long did that take? Wow. And it keeps on going. Crazy. Whoa. What in the world? There's a column in the middle. you get the idea. More caves all through there, and it keeps going and going. Really intriguing looking ones out there in the red rock. Wow. Hopefully it is becoming a little more clear why this is my favorite place in the world. It is an absolute explorer's paradise. So more coming from Cappadocia. See ya.